Hello, hello, hello. Okay, first let me say this. More personal stories. A 4-year-old that doesn't understand why his Nini's busy. And as you just saw, getting kicked out of my own live stream, which isn't even a live stream on the restreaming app I'm using to record because I want to share my screen. And you'll be able to see all the issues for those people that say, you having internet issues. Well, a 10-second countdown took 57 seconds just now. That's all I'm saying. Yeah. That being said, I welcome everybody, and I hope everybody will view this because it is important. I don't care if it just has a little circle and my face ain't showing. It doesn't matter. I'm not important. Hopefully, because I don't go off a script, I speak from my heart, and I speak the truth when I speak. At least my truth. Let me put it that way. So today we're going to talk about residential boarding schools and how they affected our indigenous peoples here in the States and Canada. I will touch on Canada because I have some videos queued up, quite a few. The links will be in this as it's uploaded. The links to each and every video I show you will be available. There are a couple that even in the front of the video, and I would gladly show the entire video, but I think it's important you go over and see the rest of them at their original uploads that say you can have this, you can copy it, you can view it, you can do whatever. They just want the story out there. And I want to touch on that. See, I've been vilified so much, I'm used to it. I'm a YouTuber. I chose to make videos. I chose to do live streams. I chose to make a channel. I chose to put my face out there. I chose to use my name. Chose. My choice. My choice. What isn't a choice and is wrong as hell, and I'm mad and I'm fired up and I'm irritated and I'm over, is when someone is a panel guest and they're speaking their personal story and what they've been through. How in the hell can you disrespect that person? Did anybody ask that person, can I see your accreditation? Can I see your degrees? Can I see that what you're saying is true? No. I did. And I'm going to show you that proof today during this video. Don't worry. I'm going to read you some things. Some things I'm just going to scroll through because you can see what they are. You can see their certificates. And if you know anything, you know. I'm not going to put it out there slowly. And I hope that there will be enough respect and honor in people out there that you're not going to go try and dox this individual. But if you do, they live on a reservation, so you're not coming on there. And let me explain. Just like my terminology is there's levels to this shit. There's levels to things. Just like reservation lands, tribal lands, there's levels. Not every tribe has been recognized by our government. And there's still degrees to which they're recognized. Not every tribe has sovereign nation status. And I know we said don't do research on Google, but for those of you that vilified that, I got a little snippet of what Google says. Now remember, when I'm talking about that I'm going directly to these reservations, I'm filming to upload to a YouTube channel that is monetized, which means it will be for commercial use. I need that to be understood. Let me make that crystal clear. Now what I'm talking about is, there was a young lady, a woman that came on my panel. This woman is an indigenous woman. Her mother, for those of you that want to get the facts twisted and go and scream about them, and talk shit about people, let's get it twisted. Let's untwist your twist, your spin. Let's untwist that. And let's get it crystal clear. Number one, she's not a YouTuber. She's never done a live before in her life until she did mine. She doesn't know what the hell a StreamYard, a Restream, a Melon, or a Strawberry is. She has no clue. And I don't use StreamYard or Restream. I use an app called Melon, M-E-L-O-N, for streaming. Your panel guest cannot see the live chat when they're in the stream, unless they have another device open to read the chat. That's one. Two, the woman you drug and treated like she's a piece of shit while you claim to be a survivor as well. And don't worry, I'm going to make it crystal clear too. I've been accused of being disrespectful to other victims and survivors before, and acting in a way that a survivor or a victim wouldn't. I am a survivor of DV and SA. I am one that is strong. You hear me roar, because what I won't do is be treated like a piece of shit again and lay down and take it. I have built my walls up. So if you want to talk about me and you want to hate me, go for it. Go for it. Come on. Hate me because you ain't me. I don't care. But what you won't do is, because you don't like me, tear down someone else that didn't sign up to be a YouTuber, that doesn't have a channel, that doesn't have a little hidden fucking agenda, that is a survivor, that you don't know shit about. And no, I would never, ever think to tell another grown-ass woman who and where they can or cannot tell their story to. The MMIW movement is every woman's movement. And I should not be the only person speaking out. And when you call it my cash cow, you can kiss every single acre of my big, fat, white ass. Because you yourself said you had half the viewership when you covered it. How in the hell is it a cash cow? How is that? I cover it. I have a live stream. My peak people in that live stream was 52 people. My average peak in a live stream is pushing 200. So that's not a cash cow, boo-boo. Get your facts right. Number one. That's all I'm saying. I have no names. If you feel it applies to you, then as my grandma used to say, Lord rest your soul, my nanny, let the bit dog holler. Heard? Woo! I'm not playing today. Listen, we not in high school. We ain't elementary. We ain't junior high. We ain't middle school. This ain't no damn popularity contest. I'm not trying to be a cheerleader for nobody. Not even myself. You see, the stories that had to be told are not my stories to tell. My platform is a vessel for these women to get their story out to the world in their words, the way they want it told, the way they lived it. Yes, I can empathize. Yes, I can sympathize, because I am a survivor as well. I have survived domestic violence. I have survived. Ooh, I wasn't even supposed to say that. Oh well, demonetize me. So what? It'll be that. I'm not recording it again because it's my heart that's speaking right now. And if that's what it is, it's what it is. I got papers and I put them out there, and I shouldn't have to do that. I've told my story and it freed me. But I shouldn't have to put paperwork out to prove that I'm a survivor. But I did that. I did that. And yeah, I have sure enough been a straight bitch and asshole to people who have disrespected me and my survivorship. If they were survivors who were once victims and they felt some type of way, go ahead. But I never threatened you with physical violence. I never said, I'm shaking the table, like K. Michelle from Love and Hip Hop. The fuck out of here. I never told somebody and made them feel like they were less than a woman, less than a person, made them feel like they were the dirt under my feet, not purposely. Never called them out their name. Bitches and shit. Frauds, liar. I never a woman that was saying they were a survivor or victim. And if I did, I will fully apologize. Right here, right now. I'm sorry. I never meant to. I didn't realize I did. I surely didn't do it. Because you wouldn't share your story with me. If I did it, it was because I felt attacked. And I was in defensive mode because of my past. Not quantifying or excusing. Just stating facts. I've never said I'm a counselor or therapist. I said I'm a survivor. I am someone who has been there. My goal is to let you understand humanity-wise and honor and respect what happened. And what these women have went through and survived. And their families have went through and survived. I need you to understand cultures are different. Belief systems may be different. Does that make it right or wrong? No, it does not. It does not. When you go from state to state, there's differences in laws. We've found that so many times in going over the Summer Wells case. Why is it so hard to believe that there's differences in rules, regulations, laws, and everything from reservation to reservation? Because they're many states apart, or sometimes state to state to state. Why is that so difficult to believe, to understand, to comprehend? And it's not... When someone says don't use Google, see, y'all get it twisted. It doesn't mean you can't open up the Google window and type in Library of Congress, and then when you get to the Library of Congress, search residential boarding schools. What it means is you don't type in what is MMIW in Google and take those links and take everything you see in every one of those links as verbatim and the true story. You don't take the statistics that pop right up on the screen and quote them as fact. You cross-reference. You check. Because Google takes data from multiple different sources. Some independent, some government-based. And they mash it together and get their stats. When you ask a specific question that is, can you do that? Yes. Miss Gina wasn't sitting here saying to you guys, don't use Google to go to the Library of Congress. Don't use Google as an engine to take you somewhere else. What she is saying is, you cannot use facts and statistics that are generated only by Google and take those as fact. And that in the school system, on the 2 reservations she's been in, within the last, 72 hours, the children are not allowed to do that. Now, some of you may say, well, what qualifications does she have? Don't worry. I'm about to slam you with qualifications that I've called phone numbers on, that I've checked, that I know about. I've been known about. This has not been a slow process. When I say that there's certain permissions that are needed, remember I said commercial, video and photography. Commercial. Maybe even using a drone to get aerial footage. Remember, I've said that because it's broadcast over YouTube and my YouTube channel is monetized. I need y'all to understand that when I go into what I'm about to go into. Because I was called a liar about the fact that you need permission. And What is a derivative of the word permission? Is that permit? Yes, it is. Oh, wow. Let's see what Google, since y'all want to put stock in Google, let's see what your lovely Google says. Okay? Let's ask them. But before I even do that, let me say this. This entire video should not have to be being made. Because I shouldn't be, well, at least half of it. I shouldn't be having to educate people on the truth. Because I encourage everybody to go watch every channel you want to watch. Talk to every creator you want to talk to. You can like me and like somebody I don't like. I'm not in elementary school. I didn't play this shit in high school and elementary, and I'm not going to play it today. I don't have a side. My side is the victims. My side is the survivors. That's my side. My side is the truth. And everybody's truth is different. How many times have we learned that in our lifetimes? How many times? Personally, I want my legacy and my story to be that I helped others and that I made one little person, one little spot of the world feel better. If I helped one person have a better day ever, then I'm a success in my mind. It's not measured by zeros and dollar signs in my damn bank account. And if you're somebody that you think you're a better person because of the zeros and dollar signs in your bank account than somebody that has zeros and no dollar signs and no numbers in their bank account, then you're not for me. Because I don't think I'm above anybody and anybody's beneath me. Even those that talk shit about me and drag me. For real. It's not my choice to judge. It's not up to me. All I can do is tell my truth. That's all I can do. And know this. I would never ever think that I have the right to tell a grown-ass, well-educated woman who she can and cannot fucking talk to. Many times I have said, excuse my language, it's going to be raw up in here tonight. That's another reason that I'm doing this in a video. I'm not getting distracted by the chat. I'm not worrying about what comes out my mouth. I don't care if this gets demonetized. I don't care if I don't get a penny for this video. I'm making it. I'm making it. And I'm making it my way. And I'm going to make it be the truth. I'm going to make it be everything that I can prove and that I know. And I'm going to speak from my heart. Now, if you out there and something I'm saying seems to feel like a punch in the chest or like I'm pointing my finger at you, I'm going to tell you what my mama, my nanny used to say to me. Lord rest her soul. If it bothers you, let the big dog holler. Wear it. Wear it. That's all I know to tell you. Because I'm speaking about no one specific. Because I, as a YouTuber, chose to be here. And if you want to come at me, I welcome you. Come on. Come on with it. But don't attack somebody that is a special guest and a survivor. And doesn't understand this vile, disgusting world of YouTube. And how some people get their jollies and get their kicks and feel better about themselves by making other people feel worse about themselves. And feel superior because they think that they can say a superfluous word, whatever the fuck that means. Because I don't know. I don't care. I made it up on the spot. They can say some flowery, pretty word that has 25 letters in it, and they feel like they're superior to someone else. I call bullshit. And if that helps you sleep at night, go for it. But what I will do is respect and honor those that deserve to be respected and honored. Period. And our indigenous people deserve our honor and our respect. We have disrespected their customs and their beliefs and them as a people long enough. Wake the fuck up. There's a comment that I'm going to read, and I'm going to say up front. I may not be able to pronounce some of the words properly. I'm going to say that. So you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to spell them, and I'm going to say I can't pronounce this, and I apologize. But I'm not going to butcher it, and I'm not going to attempt to try to do something I can't. And I'm going to own that I am ignorant to that. And I think it's okay as long as I do it with honor and respect and honesty. There's been enough lies and distortion when it comes to the reality of our indigenous peoples. Now, I have multiple videos that I'm going to link in the description of this video that are available for your viewing pleasure. Some of them even say you can download it, you can have it, you can show it, you can do whatever. But I'm not going to show all of it because I want you to go over there and I want them to get the clicks and the views and the likes. That's what I want. So I'm going to link them. But these videos are important. If you really want to understand what is the MMIW movement, what was it born of? What was before it to need the MMIW movement? What happened to need this? What caused it? What did we do as a people? And what have we continued to do throughout time as a people? It all boils back to systematic racism. Period. And to deny that it exists in this country is like burying your head in the sand and your fingers in your ears going, nah, 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 like a 3-year-old. It exists. Recognize it. Own it. And fix it. Until we all own the fact that it exists in our country and that this was borderline genocide of a people, we can't heal. We can't move forward as a unit working together and respecting and honoring each other. Now I'm done with my diatribe. What I'm going to get into now is the facts and the videos. And I hope you guys stick around. And I hope that this helps. I don't want to bring more hurt. I don't have the market cornered. God, please, in the right way, with the right respect and the right honor, I hope to see every YouTube channel talking about MMIW. Every YouTube channel, every news organization. Why do you think I ask everyone in my chat? I challenge them to go out into the world to one person in the next 24 hours and say, do you know about residential boarding schools and MMIW? And help educate them. Pique their interest. Because with our voices raised and using those voices for education and furthering a worthwhile cause, there's no way you're going to go wrong. And we can actually maybe affect a change. And maybe by the time my grandchild in there is my age, we'll have a better world. We're all human. We're all born the same way. With nothing. Nothing. No knowledge. No clothes. No tainted thoughts, feelings, biases. All of that is learned over time. Remember that. Now, I'm going to begin to show y'all what I want to show y'all. Because I want to get this done and I want to get it uploaded. Because I know there's some people out there that need to see it. I want to say this. None of this is a dig or a slam at anyone in particular. Period. None of it is. I think it's a learning experience for all of us as humans, is what I think. I'm not going to get into no he say, she say, and no back and forth, because that demeans the cause. And that's what I'm not going to do. That's it. So, I want to show first, you'll see Miss Gina's credits and certificates. And like I said, I'm going to roll through them pretty fast. Not because I'm hiding something, but because I don't want mean-spirited, vile, ugly, nasty people to try to do something to harm her in any way. And I mean, addresses and stuff have been covered up. Last names, they've been covered up. But, you know, when you get a degree, you see where that degree came from. So, when you get a plaque, when you get an award, when you get a certificate, when you have a license, you see that. And then I'm going to go into her story. And I'm going to explain what she said, once again, to those that got it twisted. Because she didn't say she was a residential boarding school survivor. She said her mother was one of the few that survived her personal residential boarding school. And then her mother had 15 children that were put in foster care by our government. And of those 15 children, she is one of 2 that survived that foster care. So, when you repeat shit, get it right. She's not a public speaker. She's not a YouTuber. She was nervous. She was scared. And thank you for helping that. Because in the last 72 hours, she transferred from an Alaskan reservation to a Nevada reservation. And while you screaming at her about you didn't drop me no links, well, let me ask you something. Is she a creator? Does she know how to drop links? No. The answer is no, no, no. But are you? Because multiple times in your comment section I saw she asked you for links. Because you said you'd done prior work on this. You'd spoke on it. Even if you just said, I support the MMIW, couldn't you drop a link to that video for the woman? I told her to talk to you. Point blank period. I told her to talk to you. I said every mouth wagging about the movement and every voice out there saying something about the movement is welcome. She tried. And this is what happened. I'm not going any further with that. I don't have a personal problem with you. I'm not a vindictive person. I still hope that you cover MMIW. And I hope that you do it with respect and honor. Because the more people with awareness, the more people that are talking about it, the better. That's how I see it. I will say that, you know, on an airplane, I know you're not allowed to have your phone out and be texting and shit. And I happen to know there was an airplane ride during that time. I will also say, she didn't give me links. I looked it up. MMIWUSA.org was dropped in my chat. Not by me, but by one of my mods. 2 people during the chat went directly to that main website, found the donation button, made a donation, and came back and told us they made a donation. It took less than 5 minutes. Just saying. Just saying. Now, first thing I'm going to show is I'm going to scroll through Miss Gina's accreditation. And then I'm going to show you what supports. Remember, permit on reservations. Specifically, the one that I'm going to first in Nevada. And if you think things, and if I didn't make this clear, it differs state to state laws. We found that out with Summer's case. Reservation laws differ reservation to reservation. The one we were looking at me going to first in Alaska, you can't have alcohol on. It's totally prohibited. Nevada does not. Differences. Same as different state laws, to those that don't know. Okay, I'm muting, and I'm just going to scroll through. And then I'm going to go to something else. And then I'm going to go to something else. And then I'm going to say goodnight. Because my blood pressure is up. I'm not happy. I don't like seeing people disrespected when they are not creators. They're not used to this stupid, ignorant backbiting. This is why I have no loyalties to anyone. And if you're out there and you're a creator and that bothers you, cool, I don't know. We're all co-workers. We're all associates. And there's levels to shit. Do I respect some more than others? Yes. Have I built deeper bonds with some more than others over time? Yes. Are there very few, one or two, that I consider true friends? Yes, there is. There's even fewer that I consider family. But if you're wrong, I'm going to tell you. So, there we are. These are Miss Gina's accreditations. Then I'm going to get to 2 letters that she wanted me to read, to share. And that's what I'm going to do. Thank you for hurting a survivor. Thank you. And when I say thank you, I'm including... I'm not talking about creators necessarily, because I saw a lot of disgusting behavior from subs in the past couple days, and I'm just disgusted. Some they call themselves my friend. Some that don't. So it's not, I really want it out there. I want to make this clear. If you feel I'm talking about you, then the fuck I am. Period. Let the big dog holler. But come from me. Don't come for what you perceive as a weaker person. Because they're not. A survivor of any survivor is strong. Strong beyond belief. We've probably already been through more in our life than you can ever think of spewing from your mouth. Or typing over a keyboard. Or whispering in the wind. So, do what you do. I'm going to go back to kindergarten and say, I'm rubber and you're glue. Whatever you say bounces off of me and sticks to you. I mean, that's where I feel like we are right now. I got a 4-year-old that acts with more integrity than some people I've seen lately. It's disgusting. I'm done. Rant over.
wisdom keepers told us the lightskins are coming, and their numbers would be great. They will bring great destruction and confusion. That we will go through a time of testing.
I do want to say that the videos that I'm going to be back and forth sharing, I'm sharing with educational purposes. This video, it says that you can have and you can share as you want. The links will be available in the description box once this is finished uploading.
They will bring four mind changers to make us forget our ways. The mind changers will be a liquid, black book, a song, and a card. They will take your land, they will poison the earth. They will bring disease and sickness. They will kill the women and the children. They will destroy our culture. Only our spirituality will be left. After the testing time, a great healing will take place. The eagles will come back. The buffalo will come back. We will come back. The prophecies will come true. We are now in the time of the fulfillment of prophecy. The story that happened has never been told. Now is the time to tell the story.
Genocide tactics, as defined by the United Nations. Number 1. Killing members of the group. An example of that would be the Wounded Knee Massacre. Number 2. Causing serious bodily or mental harm to members of the group. A good example of that would be the 1862 mass hanging. Number 3. Deliberately inflicting on the group conditions of life calculated to bring about its physical destruction, in whole or in part. A good example of that would be the longest walk made by the Navajo Nation or the Cherokee Trail of Tears. Number 3. Imposing measures intended to prevent births within the group. The United States government sponsored sterilization of Native American women. Number 4. Forcibly transferring children of the group to another group. In 1879, in Carlisle, Pennsylvania, the first of 500 boarding schools. It happened here in the United States of America. Some of the genocide tactics included massacres, forced relocations, sterilizations of women, boarding schools. California alone paid $12 million on Indian bounties. After the atrocities, only about 1% of the native population remained, making this perhaps the largest genocide of the 20th century. Genocide was sanctioned under 24 U.S. presidents from 1830 to 1933. Manifest Destiny, a term that was coined in 1839 and revised in 1845 to sanction the colonization of North America. It was used to designate the belief that the United States was destined, even divinely ordained, to expand across the North American continent. Thousands were murdered and relocated in the name of Manifest Destiny. By 1920, 99% of all Native Americans were wiped out. In 1879, the U.S. government implemented the genocide tactic of removing the children from their native culture and placing them in one of the 500 new boarding schools. This was an attempt to eradicate the Native American culture and assimilate those children into European culture. In 2008, a gathering took place in Minneapolis, Minnesota. The purpose of this gathering was to talk about intergenerational trauma. The pain and hurt at this conference was so intense that the elders instructed us to make a 7,000-mile journey across the United States. We traveled to current and former boarding schools to gather these stories from the people who attended when they were children. We recorded the stories of what happened to them. Here are their stories.
Oh, okay. So I want to go back and forth a little bit here. And I'm emotional, and that's okay. And I'm gonna not be to edit anything out because I want this to be 100% real. I think most people need stuff in small doses right now to understand. To build a house, you gotta make a foundation. So on Google, here's what I asked. On tribal land that has sovereign nation status, can anyone go there? Okay? I'm gonna let it refresh. Now, I want to come to find several things. The main thing I wanted answered, and I had it, and I've lost it. Let's see. Can you visit tribal lands? I think this is where it's at. Here we go. All permits or passports needed to enter the Navajo Nation, or are they? It says no special permits are required for traveling on the reservation. However, here we go. Permits. Understand. Permits are required for hunting, hiking, camping, boating, and for commercial filming and photography. Now, these questions, they answer, what are the laws of the United States? What are the laws of the white man? They don't answer, what ways do you respect the tribal lands and the elders and tribal council? If you just walk yourself on those lands and think you go videotape and start walking up to people and asking questions, then guess what's going to happen? Tribal police are going to help you understand that you're not a part of that reservation and that you're being dishonorable and disrespectful. That's all. We're going to close that. For those people that keep calling and texting and commenting, I will be getting to you. I can't do that while making this video. Woosah. I need just a second to queue up the next thing. And I can't do that in this while sharing other stuff. Right now it's a shame that I'm about to have to do what I'm about to have to do. But since people want to attack certain people's credibility and authenticity, I'm going to put it out there. I honestly don't think it's necessary. And I'm ashamed that I'm having to do this. I'm going to be real. I just don't know how else to say it. But here we go. This letter is written from Bowman Drywall Inc. Where it's at is not even important. It's dated November 5th, 1999. To whom it may concern, I'm writing this letter on behalf of Gina. I have been personally acquainted with Gina for approximately 8 years. Gina has worked for my company while she was in high school, while she was in college, and during medical school. What? Medical school? Oh my gosh. While Gina worked for us, she was highly regarded by all of us, not only as a valuable employee, but as a friend you could count on. Gina is hardworking, intelligent, and loyal, and I highly recommend her to anyone who is contemplating employing her. Gina was an excellent student, and I know that while in school, she was the recipient of numerous scholastic awards and scholarships. I can only assume that Gina will continue her record of excellence in whatever jobs she pursues and in her chosen medical field. I feel that Gina will make an excellent counselor, and that whoever hires and works with her will be enriched by her job skills, her intelligence, and her professionalism. Yours truly, Ronald J. Bowman, President, Bowman Drywall, Inc. Oh, no. This is Alice. Okay, I'm going to have to edit some of this, I think. Ugh, damn. It is with great pleasure I recommend Gina to our program. Last year I had the honor of presenting the Kiwanis International Hope of America Award to her for determination in the pursuit of her academic goals, community service, and character. Our 8-year friendship began when Gina was employed by Bowman Drywall Inc., where I held the position of office manager. Gina always conducted herself in a professional manner. Gina perfected her drywall skills to a journeyman level while attending medical school at the University of Nevada at Reno. She consistently handles difficult situations with professionalism that earns the respect of those around her. I believe Gina is well suited for a career in substance abuse field. She has attended classes from St. Mary's Outreach Program for drug and alcohol abuse. She has had a great deal of exposure to individuals who suffer from drug or alcohol abuse, both in her past employment and members of her family. I believe this is what sparked an interest in her to pursue a career in this field. Sorry, I'm having tongue-tied issues. Gina has the ability to analyze a problem, gather information, develop solutions, and follow through to resolution. Gina rarely passes judgment on people, but instead tries to understand why others act or think a different way. She conducts herself appropriately and is well received in a variety of different settings. I hope I have addressed your questions in their entirety. Please feel free to contact me should you have any further questions. Alice Magdaleno. Now, in my opinion, Gina shouldn't have to show shit. That's just my opinion. She shouldn't have had to show her certificates, her awards, her degrees. She shouldn't have to show the papers that she has to carry when she leaves the reservation and to get back on the reservation. That she could get in trouble for not having. You can get jailed. But I digress. Now we're going to go back. I'm going to show y'all a couple other videos. I can't show them like I can this one because they don't give the information. But I want you to see them because I want people to educate themselves. So, okay. The video that we have been watching, I'm going to give the name, and as I said, the link will be in the description. The name is The Wellbriety Journey to Forgiveness. Dawn, and Lord, I please say this right. I'm just going to spell it. Dawn, Coyhis, is the name of the channel. I'm going to leave the link, and I hope that people will go and finish. I want to give a background about residential boarding schools, and I'm going to let this story right here tell it, and then we're going to look at a couple other videos. Then we're going to end with a dirty delete from someone that doesn't dirty delete.
The stories that we heard on this journey from these elders were so unbelievable. Some of the elders, they even had a very difficult time even talking about what went on there. Many of the elders who told the stories of what happened to them was the first time that they ever told a story to anybody, even their children, their spouses. No one had known the experiences that they had in these boarding schools as children.
Said he liked this boarding school. Well, I for one hated the damn place. And I can start out with, I don't know if anybody here remembers their life when they were 6 years old. I do. It was right here at this boarding school that, I'm going to mention that name, Mr. Care. Boy, did I hate that son of a bitch. I mean, really, really hate. And I didn't know I was supposed to ask this man for permission. I'd come back that evening and, then he knocked the hell right out of me. There's a window there. He'd shut it, make sure nobody saw it. And when I got back, damn, he just whipped me all over my damn body. I mean, he knocked the hell right out of me. And neither one of us knew how to cry because we weren't supposed to cry.
It is said, "The truth shall set you free." The stories we heard on the journey of the beatings of the children for speaking their language, the violence to the children, the punishment system, the sexual abuse is directly tied to our current day community issues of alcoholism, drug abuse, violence, and sexual abuse. This is called intergenerational trauma.
Because this happened over 100 years ago, 130 years ago, and that historical trauma passes on from generation to generation. And we see many angry young people and others who don't even know why they're angry. And if we look back, we're treating the symptoms, but if we look back, we'll find the root causes go back to this time. when genocide took place.
I remember me and my friend, another girl, well, she was my relative from Cheyenne River. We were in the dormitory and we went out the back door, and it was a roof, and we didn't realize it was the roof, but we went back in, and that night we had, they called our names. They called a whole bunch of little girls' names, and so we all got in line, and the sister opened this door, and she took one little girl in there, and pretty soon that little girl was just crying, and she came out, and then the next one, and we realized they were getting whipped in there. And when it was my turn to go up there, and I went in there, and that sister told me that I was on the roof and I was somewhere I weren't supposed to be, and so they pulled our pants down, and that was our first whipping. The first day I got there, the first night, that was my experience with the first day at boarding school.
I'm the last of the family of 9 children. My oldest brother went to boarding school, never came back. Only his body was brought back. And I had 2 other sisters, later years, lost their lives to alcoholism. I come from a family of alcoholism.
And yes, there was sexual abuse in our time. Yes, there was. But we weren't allowed to talk about it. We were given cod liver oil by the tablespoonful for talking Indian. We were slapped with yardsticks for talking Indian, for whispering, or wanting to go to church. We couldn't have a best friend. They'd break us apart. Like someone said, they got separated because they were too close. And that's the way it was. And that's the way it was in boarding school.
As soon as we got to the school, they cut our braids off. They didn't even have the courtesy to unbraid it. They just chopped them off.
But with the Lakotas, if you cut their hair, it means mourning for them. And for these children, they had to have their hair cut. And it is said that they cried throughout the night over this. That was very smart on the teachers and Pratt in the beginning of the brainwashing that they did to these children. Their whole thing was to totally take away their identity. They changed their names from their native names, which for all of us, it symbolizes our heritage, our pride, our accomplishments. It says who we are and where we stand. And they decided to take all the Indian names away and give them common American names, to take their self-worth and their self-identity away from them. That was just part of the brainwashing that they did to the children here. Besides cutting their hair. When the children were caught speaking their language, they were brutally beaten. There's a house over here that they call the Ashburn House. And there's the Ashburn House and the Pratt House. One of those houses used to be the discipline house, and the other one was their mess hall. The stuff that they did to these children was unbelievable. They sexually abused them, they mentally abused them, and they physically abused them. And even better, they would get the native kids to determine what punishment they would get. And if the children did not give a good enough punishment, then the ones that were asked to give the punishment also got punished. And the punishments were quite immense. And to have a house specifically just for that, you could just imagine what happened in there.
My grandfather's in 1898. I have pictures of him at the Fort Taunton boarding school in North Dakota. I called up Fort Taunton, it's now a historical site, and I asked them if they would take me through the school, through the site, because the elders that I was interviewing there were talking about a dungeon a basement that they were thrown into. And one of my friends, Judy Kakinawash, Flying Eagle from up home, said her father was thrown down there for speaking English, and her father would just sing Indian Ojibwe Sundance songs at the top of his lungs when he was put in there. So they knew that it was under the boys' dorm, and sure enough, there was a door that was locked that the park people took me down, and we had a flashlight. It's a huge basement down there, huge, thick boulders that are underneath Fort Taunton. The fort can fall down, the bricks are crumbling, but that basement will be there forever. And it was just by luck that we found this dungeon. It was this room that was described to me by the elders, because when they made it a newer school, not the boarding school, but a newer school in like the 70s and 80s, they had to put water pipes in. And so they had to bust out some of the huge walls down there to put the water pipes in through the ground. And we saw one that had a hole in it, and we couldn't see what was behind it, so we got a ladder and we put a flashlight in there and looked in there. And we could see that there was sort of a half ladder coming down from the top of the floor. So it's to take me to where that's above there. And it was what would have been the headmaster's bathroom. And there's a trap door, and that's where the kids were thrown down. Because there was no light there. The other rooms that were down there had little tiny windows to the outside, but they had bars over them, but there was light. I said, no, they all described a very dark room where there was no light at all. So my auntie that was there, she wouldn't come with me into the school. The elders, many elders want it razed. They want it destroyed because of the horror stories there.
Then when they'd bring the Paiutes up for their haircuts, we'd all be deloused again. They had to bounce a quarter or a dime on our bed. We had to learn how to make our bed. We had to wear shoes and socks. They took our moccasins away. Levi moccasins, our canvas moccasins we had, because we didn't wear shoes at Celilo.
Now that we're going back to our ways, and it's real, because there's this thing called Lakota Dakota Language Summit thing, and in our tribe it's ran. I'm not saying it's a bad thing. I'm not saying any of this is bad, but before you go forth and do stuff, you need to acknowledge those people that suffered away from those agencies that kept that stuff alive, went underground. Before you can go forth and, act like you know everything about the culture, you need to go back and honor those people and say sorry, because they really did. They really did suffer and starve to keep those ways alive.
Who did what they did because they were brainwashed. But I forgive you. But to the United States government, I'm not there yet. But I'll say this to you, the way I started, is I'm not brainwashed and I'm not defeated. I hope.
And my sister went too, but one of the things that my sister just talked about in the last couple of weeks is that every night before she went to bed, she would always hear screams from the boys' side of the boarding school.
But Indian kids, one of the reasons we even now have such a high suicide rate among Indian youngsters is they get caught between cultures. In the olden times, almost every tribe, as an example, had a process that you went through as a teenager. Sometimes it's called a rite of passage. Sometimes some tribes might call it puberty rites. It's when a boy becomes a man or a girl becomes a woman. And in the old cultures, there was a very clear, defined way that you do it, and an actual ceremony that you went through after which you were then pronounced a man or a woman and you were no longer a child. That's gone, but there's never been anything to replace it. And I think in many cases it's left Indian kids in sort of a limbo, not quite sure what they are or where they are. And because of that insecure kind of a feeling, I think that reflects itself in a high alcoholism rate, high drug abuse rate, high suicide rate, high dropout rate, high everything rate that is bad, unfortunately.
We want to begin with a simple proposition. The proposition
Okay, y'all, this video has run a lot longer than I expected, especially for an upload. So I'm going to change it to part 1 because I think that rushing things is not the right way to do. That's part of the problem. So this first video, I'm going to drop the link in the description and hopefully you'll finish because I wanted to give you a background and I wanted to let you hear the individual stories and pain from actual survivors. The next videos that I show, I'm gonna have to not mute and not let just play because I don't have the full permission. So I'm gonna play segments and I'm gonna link them in the description and hopefully it won't get struck. And I do say I'm playing these under the copyright disclaimer under Section 107 of the Copyright Act of 1976, allowance made for fair use. And I'm claiming educational purposes because the purpose of this video is to educate people about residential boarding schools, why they were created, and what their purpose was. And their purpose was to eradicate, and that's a terrible word to use, but it's the only one that works, an entire people. And healing cannot happen until we admit it and own it. This talks about the remains of 215 Indigenous Canadian children found on the site of the school that they were forced to attend. It's by CBS Mornings. And again, I am claiming educational purposes, and I will stop and comment. I will read you this. The remains of 215 Indigenous Canadian children were found on the site of, and if I pronounce this wrong, I apologize up front. I'm going to just spell it because I don't want to take the chance of disrespecting or dishonoring anyone. KAMLOOPS Indian Residential School. The largest school the Canadian government legally mandated Indigenous peoples to attend. On this, they also speak with a survivor of this school. Again, hopefully, no one will be upset. I have emailed this email address here, the lysines@veritone.com. I just didn't get a response. So I just may even play a little video right here. Come on. I'm sorry the system is not working with me.
This week to honor the lives lost. The remains were discovered in Kamloops, British Columbia, at what was once Canada's largest residential school for Indigenous children. Our national correspondent Jerika Duncan spoke with a survivor.
I want us to hear the words of this survivor And hopefully YouTube, CBS This Morning, and all their parent companies will not make me sanitize this video and remove this. If this portion is taken out, or if this video is taken down, it'll be available on other platforms that will be announced in its entirety for free. Hopefully, they will let me use this lady's words and not strike me. I'm not going to push play until she's speaking. I mean, put the sound on until she's speaking. For that reason. And I am going to speed the speed up also for that reason.
Kids would not show up in classroom. They would disappear for the next day.
And I meant, gentlemen, I apologize again.
Gary Gottfriedson is a survivor of the Kamloops Indian Residential School. He's among the thousands of Indigenous peoples legally mandated by the Canadian government to attend such institutions. They were set up in the late 1800s and often operated by the Catholic Church. The last one closed in says abuse was rampant.
The whole point was to erase their Indigenous identities. These Indian residential schools have often been compared to prisons.
We were never allowed to speak our languages in there because of fear of punishment. So those of us that were little were absolutely terrified.
A Truth and Reconciliation Commission was formed to investigate abuse at the Indian residential schools. In 2015, it issued a report saying the government committed cultural genocide. At least 4,000 students died at these schools, some of disease, neglect, accidents, or abuse. Prime Minister Justin Trudeau
saying sorry.
The link to that video will also be available in the description. I show enough to create your desire to go and watch it in full on their channel, so they get credit. There's a few more we're going to look at. This one is CBS docs or documentaries for full length. I think it's important for you guys to read all of this. Again, I'm going to mute everything but actual spoken word. And I do say I'm playing this under the Fair Use Act of 1976 for educational purposes, to educate those of you viewing on residential school abuse and why they were even set up in the first place. In their own words. Because I can't tell someone else's story. A life.
We're gonna set up home base. This is not regular time on the red.
There's still fear and pain. And fear of repercussions for telling the truth.
This is really dawned on me. My mother's, the train going to wait for us to come back. The train pulled out.
I'm gonna fast forward a little bit, only because of what's required by law, unfortunately. This is pictures showing what she came to.
It didn't go right to sleep, and I just couldn't sleep. I was worried about something, and I figured myself, oh my God, what place is this? Is this hell?
make sure that you go and watch the rest of this on CBS Docs. The link will be in the description. The next I have is Native American boarding schools. Indigenous Americans is the name of the webpage. Again, I have emailed and respectfully asked. I'm making sure that everything is shown. There are a lot of music. I really can't show much of this one, but I will put the link in the description because I want and hope and pray that you go check it out. We are gonna look at the pictures and let it play a little bit. This is part that they were talking about. Making you dress, act like the white man, rather than allowing your own culture, your own beliefs. And I get it. The next video is by KAR Channel 11. All their links will be here. Hopefully, you guys will go check this one out. It's a little over 6 minutes. I'm going to play quite a bit of it. It's called The Lost History, Native American Boarding Schools. Oh my goodness. This is called a commercial I didn't expect.
Sparked a reckoning with such schools here in the U.S. And as Chris Arapsky reports, that reckoning is reaching Minnesota.
This way you're growing vocabulary.
At the University of Minnesota Morris, Professor Gabriel DeRosier is teaching Anishinaabe-Moan, the native language of the Ojibwe people.
It was important back in traditional times to know these things.
It does not escape him that 120 years ago, on the very soil he's standing on, speaking this language was forbidden, even punished.
Cultural genocide.
He's talking about an era of Indian boarding schools, and he would know. His mother, his uncles attended them. DeRosier himself went to a Catholic day school outside his reservation in Canada, the effects of which produce childhood trauma and a broken family structure that is difficult to grasp.
She didn't really know how to express or love, and that all came from what she experienced as a child. You know, all her brothers became alcoholics, and they all died alcoholics and tragic deaths. So.
For 100 years, dating back to the 1860s, Native American boarding schools existed in the United States. By historical accounts, they were funded by the federal government, meant to sever American Indian culture and quote-unquote civilize the Indian.
My family has 2 generations of boarding school history that I know of.
Christine Dindisi McCleve is the CEO of the National Native American Boarding School Healing Coalition based in Minneapolis. She explains how President Ulysses Grant gave federal money to churches at first to start these schools.
Because he figured that they would not be corrupt with those funds. And so that is what opened the door to federally funded, church-run Indian boarding schools.
In 1879, U.S. Army Captain Richard Henry Pratt established the first federally funded off-reservation Indian school in Carlisle, Pennsylvania, enrolling more than 10,000 American Indian and Alaskan Native children from more than 140 tribes. Pratt famously once said,
"They must get into the swim of American citizenship, kill the Indian in him, and save the man."
But he also created propaganda. He took before and after photos of these students.
Please understand, anyone that's watching, anybody that created these videos, I'm crediting the original authors. But this video is to educate and to lay a foundation for the story over the next few months that I want to tell, to help release the pain and help the healing for our future generations and for all women.
Students, to prove that his experiment worked and that the Indians could be quote-unquote civilized.
That school became a model for 16 schools in the state of Minnesota, from Pipestone to Morris to Vermilion, and at least 367 schools across the U.S., according to the Healing Coalition. Problem is, no one, not even the federal government, knows exactly how many schools there were, nor exactly how many children attended them. There is no official record. But according to the book Education for Extinction, the best estimate is that by 1926, 83% of Indian school-age children attended boarding schools, ultimately reaching an estimated 200,000 American Indian children, according to McLeave.
There were laws that were written that said that all Indian children had to attend these boarding schools in the beginning years. If a parent chose not to let their kid go or tried to prevent them from being taken, they could be thrown in jail, and some were, or they could have rations withheld. And so they had no choice. Their children were forcibly taken.
She says conditions were often brutal.
They were given uniforms, they were given a number, they were referred to by their number only. And their hair was cut, which for many tribes across Turtle Island represents either grief or shame. I think it depends on the era and it depends on the schools.
Dr. Kate Bean is an American Indian Studies professor at the University of Minnesota and director of Native American initiatives at the Minnesota Historical Society. While she calls much of this era ethnic cleansing, she points out that not every school was that harsh.
My grandmother went to the Flander Indian School in South Dakota, and she had a wonderful experience there, learning how to farm, learning how to sew. And her experiences there as a student were very, very starkly different than my grandfather's experiences at a different boarding school in South Dakota.
Each story is different, but the atrocities shared by so many are no longer going unnoticed.
And when I look out, I see that none of us have been spared.
In Minneapolis this September, a group gathered to honor and remember boarding school survivors.
I distinctly recall her saying to me directly, "If I don't put you in the boarding school, they're going to take you away from me."
A march is a voice, but a secretary in the federal government, that is power.
We must shed light on the unspoken traumas of the past, no matter how hard it will be.
Former Congresswoman Deb Haaland is now the head of the Interior Department that ran many of these schools a century earlier. Her own family attended them. And for the first time in the U.S., the federal government is investigating records, stories, archives, and eventually ground-penetrating radar to find out how many children never made it home.
Acknowledgement is the very first step. Acknowledging that this history happened. Recognizing that this history happened. Recognizing the impact on this history is the next step.
This is how Karen
The link for this video will also be in the description. And I hope that everybody will go and check it out. I think it's a very important story to be told. To begin healing, what do we need? We need acceptance. We need acknowledgement. We need apologies. And most of the people that committed the crimes themselves, they may be buried as well. But our government still exists. And until there's acknowledgement and apologies and a change, there will be pain. There will be division. There will be mistrust. And no honor. I'm going to end by saying peace, love, light. And part 2 will be here tomorrow night.